All right, who is ready to rumble? We've got some caster battles for you guys here. My name is Brendan Lewis, and I am joined this time by my good friend Jake Muller.
Hi.
We're going to bring you guys these caster battles, which is going to be featuring, one, the team that Anashan and Andrew just told you guys about,
Yep.
and two, whatever Joe Brown is bringing.
Yeah. Joe likes to do some fun stuff
He
too,
does
so it
like
should
to
be
do some
entertaining.
fun
Yeah.
stuff, right? We were talking to Joe a little bit earlier about, and this, Noctowl is now multifactorial, okay? There are a lot of things going for Noctowl. It was in kind of like the eye of the community after Wolf and Aaron were laddering on it his stream, and then it got tinted lens.
Right.
So that's kind of a preview into Joe, is he was like ready to use Noctowl, but now that it's like popular, we have to stay away from it.
Yeah, you can't reuse the popular stuff
Right,
anymore.
but Noctowl is like up Joe's alley, is the point that I'm trying to make.
I can't wait. I really hope he brings the Noctowl. Sadly, no Noctowl. We get a different bird, though, the Corviknight. And Obstagoon's kind of fun. And Serena, I guess those are two things we don't really see very often.
Yeah, and I know Joe's been talking at length about Lapras, which is shiny. He was able to hatch a shiny Lapras.
Nice.
He was very excited about that.
Yeah.
But what I was unaware of is that this is actually a battle of the sexes. There's male and female and Didi that we have on stream there. So this is pretty intense. Joe supporting the ladies out there, and of course Andrew. With that male and Didi. And we talked with Andrew just recently, a couple minutes ago, about some of those 2-mon cores that he's got. And he's got them all laid out nicely for us, which is good.
Yeah, a nice little flag for us and all his opponents to say, hey, you know, I have these 3 sets of 2, and you're going to deal with them, and you're going to like it.
Right.
I would, like, mixing between those sets of 2 might be a little difficult in that team, so you're probably going to see, like, two of those 3 combinations without much mixing in between. Joe's team is a little more different though. The Dragapult and DD combo is pretty strong with the possible Follow Me Dragon Dance combo. But the Serena, you know, blocking priority. I'm not really sure what else Serena is doing in this meta. We saw a bunch of it back in 2019 last year. Really strong Pokemon back then, but you know, a bunch of things that it could be doing here.
I think it got some hype when Max moves were announced, before we realized that Max Knuckle was going to be base 95 power all the time. But we're going to get our leads here as Joe does go immediately into his purple Lapras alongside that Dragapult, and Andrew goes immediately with that Unburdened Hawlucha core that he was just talking about on stream, which will raise his special defense and also double his speed thanks to the Unburden ability. Yeah,
nice little combo there. Hawlucha really loves that Unburden ability. Makes it one of the fastest things on the field. It can start firing off some powerful moves. It did gain Close Combat and Brave Bird with this new generation, which are 2 moves that it was really aching for beforehand. Although with the with the Unburden, Psychic Seed combo, Acrobatics is also a very strong option that doesn't come with the negative of a bunch of recoil. So a lot of options here for Hawlucha. Pretty strong like Swords Dance user too. If you
it definitely has a lot of boosting options available to it. And then the male Indeedee is something that I find interesting because we almost never see it. It's kind of like the offensive cousin to the supportive nature of female Indeedee, where you see it using Life Orb or Choice Scarf or Choice Specs because it has that higher special attack stat.
It's a little bit faster too, I believe.
Yes, I think it is. Yep, but the Hawlucha now large and in charge on the screen here, and Hawlucha got a little bit of hype, kind of like Serena did before we realized that Max Knuckle was base 95 power because of how good Max Airstream and Max Knuckle can be. They boost very important stats. The Airstream into that Dragapult, as Joe does take it pretty well there. Hawlucha's attack stat is a little middling before it gets the opportunity to boost it, but a Dazzling Gleam from Indeedee. There's the Choice Scarf as it outspeeds Dragapult and will knock it right off the field.
Not necessarily Choice Scarf, it did get that Airstream boost right away. Which is, another one of the reasons that Hawlucha is good. It's so fast, and you get that Airstream off pretty much immediately. There's almost nothing that can stop it. And so it immediately powers up the speed of that Indeedee, allowing it to outspeed that Dragapult. Dazzling Gleam makes sense if you're a Psychic type. You got to deal with those Dark types, and Dazzling Gleam gives you a bit of spread damage as well. It was really handy for picking off the Dragapult and finishing or getting a little bit of chip damage in that Corviknight. The Max Airstream did a lot of damage there. Like that, clearly no boosting at him because we saw the Psychic Seed. But some impressive damage there. I want to say that Max Airstream off of Acrobatics uses like a higher base power. So Acrobatics does have that 110.
Does it go off? Oh, it goes up the higher. It goes up the upper bound.
So.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think that would make sense.
Yeah, because I was surprised by the damage too.
Yeah, like if you have a multi-hit move like Icicle Spear, it's not going to be based off the 25. It'll be like higher. Yeah.
But I thought the Z moves were always based off the lower bound with like low kick and stuff like that.
They were. I'm not sure how that exactly interacts.
But anyway, female Ndidi does take the field for Joe here, as mom and dad are both out on the pitch. We saw that male Ndidi definitely put in some work and take a knockout on Dragapult in turn 1, but the Max Corviknight, the Dynamax, not Gigantamax Corviknight, will take the field here. Of course, a good Dynamax user in its own right with access to Steel Spike, to Knuckle, to Airstream, so there are any number of directions that Joe can go in here. First, female Ndidi will be using Follow Me to make sure that Corviknight is not taking any sort of damage. Not that it was really being threatened there so much, but the Airstream into female Ndidi will do a sizable chunk, a little bit less to Ndidi than it did to Dragapult. And now, of course, Andrew's team is at +2 stages of speed on top of the Unburden boost, but the eject button on Ndidi, this is all coming back to me now. I know Joe has also been talking about that recently, but Lapras now will retake the field in a situation where it's a little bit safer and doesn't have to worry about taking a Max Knuckle.
Yeah, the Max Knuckle won't be happening this turn. It will be eating a Psychic, though, unfortunately. But thanks to Lapras' super high special defense, not going to be a huge deal. The Corviknight going for a Max Steel Spike into Andrew's Ndidi, doing a bunch of damage, and most importantly, getting that defense boost. So a great switch from Joe there. He brings that Lapras in safely and gives it that defense boost. Now it'll be able to stand up to Hawlucha even more.
Hopefully there aren't too many Ndidi fans out there, because the Ndidis are getting pummeled right now. It's just not a good time to be a male or female Ndidi. But Joe now has kind of worked himself into a little bit of a defensive position. He's got that defense boost so that Lapras probably doesn't have to fear being knocked out even by a Max Knuckle, which is the choice of move from Andrew here. And it is going to take that. It's 70 HP left, so not too bad thanks to that defense boost. Ndidi, male is going to be next to move here, of course, with those Airstream boosts, and will go for a Psychic right into Lapras. I think this is going to be close based on the way the last turn played out. And 7 HP for Lapras, as Steel Spike is going to be the move selection for Joe and his Corviknight, as another stage of defense will be tacked on there. This is the last turn for Hawlucha to be in Dynamax, but Joe will still have one more opportunity, as that Steel Spike does claim male Ndidi's livelihood for now. A Hydro Pump from Lapras is going to be the final move of the turn, which will do a little bit of damage to Hawlucha, thanks to that doubled HP stat.
Yeah, the defense boost coming in handy for Lapras. It's able to tank that Max Knuckle and Psychic combination. The second boost from the second Steel Spike really not going to matter, because at this point any attack is going to be able to finish off the Lapras. Now I was going to say, if you're Joe, you really want to not see the Torkoal Vileplume as the last combo, but unfortunately that is what Andrew brings out. So now this Corviknight has to deal with a Torkoal that would, really like to be firing some eruptions off. Even Heat Wave will be, pretty strong against this Corviknight thanks to that Steel typing. We already know that the fourth Pokemon for Joe is that Ndidi in the back that has taken a lot of damage from a Max Airstream. So it might be a little bleak for Joe here. He's got to worry about this Torkoal. And he doesn't really have a great way to damage it, because this Lapras is probably going down to something from a Hawlucha this turn. And plus the sun is up now, so even if Lapras did survive to fire up a Hydro Pump, really not going to be doing much damage thanks to that sun.
Right, and in the change, the generation shift, Hawlucha no longer has to rely on hitting its attack, where all endgames that featured Hawlucha were previously subject to high jump kick accuracy. Not the case anymore, as Lapras is knocked off the field, and Corviknight will get the opportunity to go for an Airstream into that Hawlucha and will knock it out. But this could potentially be a single target eruption into Corviknight from Torkoal in the sun. And even as a Dynamax Pokemon at this point, it's not going to enjoy that too much. But no, Flamethrower is the safer selection from Andrew, fearing some damage from Corviknight into that Torkoal slot.
Yeah, exactly. A Flamethrower, a much safer option there. If Corviknight had targeted the Torkoal with something like a Max Airstream, it would have been hitting at much lower power thanks to the damage it took from that Airstream. But Flamethrower does take a huge chunk out of Corviknight's HP, even as it is Dynamaxed. So it might kind of give you an indication of maybe a boosting item on that Torkoal. But the Vileplume comes onto the field. The Ndidi has one chance to redirect a possible After You or a Sleep Powder. So the Torkoal likely not going to be moving before the Corviknight, but it also doesn't really look super likely that the Corviknight will be able to take out the Torkoal before it is able to fire off something like a Flamethrower or possibly a Heat Wave and maybe an Eruption.
Right, and I think Corviknight does have a speed boost, but I don't believe that's going to be enough to make it outspeed Vileplume, because Chlorophyll, of course, does double the speed stat. So there are a lot of ways, based on what moves are selected here, at the end of this game could play out, but I think all signs point to Andrew taking this victory here. And I want to say game one, but I know that yesterday It ended up only being a best of 1, but Corviknight going to get the opportunity to Brave Bird into that Torkoal, but because of its high defense stat, not going to take too much damage from that at all, and it will eat its berry as a result of the recoil damage from Brave Bird. An Eruption from Torkoal, even after taking some damage, is going to be enough to clean both Pokemon on Joe's side of the field. And game 1, question mark? Are we going?
We're finding out. All right, we're doing a full best of 3.
So game 1 goes to Andrew Davis.
Yep.
In the end, that Hawlucha was just too much for Joe to deal with. It just
the Torkoal too, I think, was a pretty big issue.
Right.
Yeah. Especially after taking so much damage with Lapras, he really lost kind of his main way of standing up to that Torkoal. So possibly a better way to maybe preserve that Lapras a little bit better. Could be his key to winning game 2.
Definitely, definitely. And for those counting at home, that is 1 point for male indeed. Female is going to have to do a little bit more work to try and bring it back here.
Patriarchy wins again. Yeah. You hate to see it.
Yes. A retweet does not equal endorsement, is what I will say.
Oh, no.
All right, so we're going to go back into team preview here.
I'm getting canceled, aren't I?
I'm afraid to look at the chat. But I think that one thing that Joe could potentially look to is getting a little bit more mileage out of his Dragapult.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say that too. Dragapult is actually one of the best answers he has to Torkoal specifically. So, maybe not losing it turn 1 without firing a single attack off could be his option.
That sounds like it might go well for him. And he does have the tools to kind of like make that happen. Specifically with Indeedee, he could definitely at least allow himself kind of like 1 turn to act with Dragapult.
Right.
And depending on what, tech max moves it's running, whether it be some sort of Airstream, if he's running something to take the sun away, that could,
True.
like if he's got Surf there. If there are options available, right? He can rewrite the Psychic terrain.
Yep.
Dragapult is definitely kind of the wild card in this matchup here, and if Joe's able to facilitate it a little bit better, I think we could definitely see a change in outcome.
Yeah. Usually the issue when you're using Dragapult and facing an Indeedee is that Indeedee can just redirect your Ghost moves for free because it's immune to them thanks to that normal typing.
But that's the other Indeedee.
Right, yeah, male Indeedee actually doesn't have access to Follow Me at all, and so you really don't have to fear that. The only thing you got to be wary of is that damage from something like a Dazzling Gleam. So we do, good call, Brendan. That Dragapult and Indeedee is the lead from Joe in this
game, I hope Joe didn't hear us. Joe out here like the Houston Astros. I hope he heard our trash can bangs. But Andrew is going back to his same game 1 lead here. Wasn't really given a good enough reason to deviate from it after how much Hawlucha was kind of able to take over. But one thing that I was kind of, and I mentioned it briefly, is that Hawlucha's attack stat not that high until he gets the opportunity to do something like Sword Stance or get a couple of max Knuckles off. So even with the high base power moves, because of that low stat, doesn't have the offensive pressure you might expect it to.
Yeah. I'm still astonished that you had the gall to make a sports reference on a Pokemon stream, but I guess we might have some crossover there. It might just be the 2 of us. We'll see.
But the Dynamax Hawlucha is the choice for Andrew here on turn 1 again. It seems likely that he'll be going for some speed boost again with that Dragapult on the field, especially if it has access to Airstream. But a Follow Me from Indeedee, Joe clearly heard it. We're banging on the trash cans back here, but an Airstream is going to go into Indeedee, which is much preferable for Joe to have that go into his support Pokemon as opposed to Dragapult. But of course, just like last game, the Airstream will allow that male Indeedee to potentially be the next mover here and still get a strong Dazzling Gleam down onto Dragapult. That eject button on Indeedee, kind of an interesting choice, and Joe's going to try and take advantage of it again here. Yeah,
it might actually not be the greatest thing for Joe this time because he may have wanted the Indeedee to stick around for another possible Follow Me on the following turn. Obviously, the Dazzling Gleam wouldn't have been redirected. It still would have hit the Dragapult this turn no matter what. The Draco Meteor actually coming out from the Dragapult into the Hawlucha, doing some decent damage even through the Dynamax and the +1 special defense. They're actually showing off the Eject Pack, which is the new item that we got here in Sword and Shield.
It's a revolving door of Pokemon.
Yeah, certainly.
All sorts of ways for Pokemon being knocked off the field. Eject Button, Eject Pack. And all of a sudden, we're back to Lapras, and presumably Indeedee is going to come back onto the field here. Yeah. So Joe is able to not use U-turn or parting shot.
And still get two automatic switches off. Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of a unique interaction there.
It's a cool way to get Lapras into the field without taking much damage.
Right. I don't know exactly what was accomplished there by switching the Pokemon around.
Taking a lot of damage and doing that much in return, I guess.
Getting a Draco Meteor onto Hawlucha. But I guess it's nice that, in theory, he's able to get Dragapult back onto the field later in the match and without the Draco Meteor drops.
Yeah, but now this Lapras, doesn't have the defense boost from the Steel Spike this time around, so Max Knuckles going to be, pretty hurt. Or it's going to be pretty hurt.
It's going to be pretty hurt.
It's going to be pretty strong, pretty threatening. There we go. We actually do see the Lapras Dynamax from Joe here. I believe that's Lapras. It's a dive ball, so it better be.
It better be.
Yeah, here we go. Purple big Lapras. Looking to fire off some hailstorms or
We could go back and forth about the aesthetics of dive ball with shiny Lapras because it's purple.
True.
If you were going for that shiny, you might be opting.
It's still thematic at least.
Probably a Master Ball would be the best, I would say.
I don't know if you can breed Master Balls, can you?
I
don't think you can. Anyway.
And it would have to be a raid.
Yeah.
But Max Ooze from Hawlucha is interesting, which will boost the power of that male Indeedee. And of course, Max Ooze has the Max Knuckle treatment in that its base power is very low.
Right.
It's not a same type attack bonus boosted move, and therefore it's not doing all that much, as that female Indeedee is able to take 2 attacks here this turn instead of just the 1 because of the weakness of that Max Ooze. And Lapras will get the opportunity to presumably go for a Hailstorm into Hawlucha, which it is not going to appreciate all that much.
Now this Hailstorm is going to hurt. Hawlucha is still at +1 special defense, and it has that doubled HP from the Dynamax, so it is able to hang on, but it gets taken down pretty low, and it will be taking some chip damage from this hail as well.
Now, Jake, as somebody that is an atmospheric science student, can you attest to the size of hail that big?
It's got to be some pretty strong updrafts.
Okay, so it's feasible. We're not.
I mean, no, but I mean, in this world, we can believe it is.
Okay.
We got updrafts at tornado speeds. How about that?
And Dragapult does retake the field here after Indeedee was unceremoniously knocked out by the male Indeedee. So you can count that as 2 for male Indeedee, as well as an individual knockout onto female Indeedee. I'm not making any implications based on what I've said here.
No, this is a pretty good spot for Andrew, though, because he can easily go for something like a Max Airstream, possibly into the Lapras, boost the speed of his own Indeedee for a Dazzling Gleam KO in the Dragapult, and a little bit more damage than the Lapras. This Dragapult not really looking like it's having a good time this time around.
And it is going to get a Protect off, but likely will still take some damage from the Airstream here, and Hawlucha will be going into that slot, presumably, and it's going to hang on. But it will, again, give Indeedee the opportunity to be moving very quickly here. Not that it wasn't already next in the turn order. But we've seen Andrew use, I believe, Dazzling Gleam and Psychic so far. And Psychic is going to be the choice to do not all that much damage to Lapras, which will retaliate with a scientifically improbable hailstorm here. Pull per Jake Muller.
This is like a day after tomorrow type hailstorm. Like, this is not really happening.
But Joe able to take the knockout onto Hawlucha there, and I believe that was his last turn of Dynamax anyway?
No, he has one more. He has thrown twice.
Okay.
But it
was Hawlucha's last turn of Dynamax.
Oh, yeah, it was.
So Lapras will still have one more turn to presumably reset the weather for itself here. He can either set the hail back up if he wants to do that, or more likely, I think the rain would be a little bit better.
Yeah.
And you would think that we'll see Andrew try to cycle Torkoal out here to make sure that he's preserving the Torkoal Vileplume endgame.
Yeah, no, if he does that, then he'll be able to switch that Torkoal back in on the following turn. This is Lapras' last turn of Dynamax. So he would... Oh, that's really cool.
Oh, okay. So he is using those speed buffs that were afforded to the male Indeedee from Hawlucha to utilize After You, even without... we were expecting Vileplume to be the After You user, but double After You is the play here, and it will allow a knockout onto Dragapult before it gets to act. But a Max Geyser, even in the sun, doing quite a bit of damage to that Torkoal, which obviously is more known for its physical defenses than its special defenses.
It's an interesting trade there for Andrew. Like, you get some damage on the Lapras, and you get the knockout on the Dragapult. But if you just went for a straight-up Dazzling Gleam, you still would have gotten that Dragapult KO. You possibly could have preserved that Torkoal. If you switch the Vileplume in there, it takes the Geyser, which, it'll do some damage, but in the sun, it won't do too much, and you still have the opportunity to switch the Torkoal back in for the sun later on. Now this Lapras actually in a really good spot here because it has the rain set up. It could go for something like a Hydro Pump to get some good damage onto either Indeedee or Torkoal, and the Indeedee certainly won't be able to knock it out. You know, it does have, I believe it's at +1 special attack, and the Psychic Terrain is up, but Lapras is known to be very, very specially bulky.
Right, and Torkoal, I think very predictably switching out into Vileplume here, so we'll have to see whether or not Joe read into that at all, because I think that's the safest way for Andrew to set up his endgame. A Psychic from Indeedee is going to do quite a bit of damage to Lapras, but not quite knock it out, as Safeguard is the move that Serena apparently learns, and a Hydro Pump from Lapras will complete the turn and do a sizable amount of damage into Indeedee, but not quite take the knockout despite the high base power of the move and the rain boost.
Yeah, the high base power of the move and the rain boost are unfortunately weighed down by Lapras's somewhat mediocre special attack stat. You know, Indeedee, the male version, usually trained to be a bit faster and stronger, not necessarily focusing on their bulk. You can see by the somewhat low HP number there on the Indeedee, but able to survive for this one more turn, fire off a Dazzling Gleam here just to get a little bit of damage, finish off that Lapras. It looks like it's going to be Serena against the world here.
Yeah, and Serena is not going to like facing against a poison type and is going to take a Sludge Bomb for its troubles. And it will be knocked out as Andrew Davis reigns supreme in this today's caster battle. He will join a select club of casters who have won on stream.
Oh, who else is in that
during
club,
caster battles? Oh, I don't know.
I wouldn't know either.
It could be me. But a good set. I think it was cool to get the opportunity to showcase that team that Andrew was talking
really
about
cool.
quite a bit.
If you want to use that team yourself, use the command in Twitch chat, !rental team AD. Those are his initials. Yeah, Andrew Davis.
AD. Yep. So that will be, if you are interested in using, I think male Indeedee was really the star of that match. They're putting in quite a bit of work and hanging around for a surprisingly long time. I guess that might be a bias towards female Indeedee, which is constantly drawing attacks towards itself.
True.
Male Indeedee doesn't do that. That's one of the moves that it doesn't get access to. But a really cool team showcase there. I'm sure Joe is glad that he was able to showcase his shiny Lapras, which will be basically going away on March 1st, I would think.
Pretty much, yeah. When we get Gigantamax Lapras, there's pretty much no reason not to use it.
Right, so Joe giving it its moment in the, I was going to say sun.
In the sun, in the hail?
In the
rain.
It
was in the sun during the game.
There were multiple weathers.
In the rain and the hail.
But a good set overall, and I believe we are getting ready to go into our next round. Yep, so we are going right into round 5. Oh, the match has actually been selected here. Which Jeremy is this?
Oh,
okay. Yeah. So this match will actually be between two of my locals, not the New Jersey locals that we've been featuring heavily over the first part of the stream, but between Jeremy Odena and Caleb Breyer, who get the opportunity to play each other quite a bit. And that match will be coming to you on stream in just a moment, so stay tuned.